Hello everybody and welcome to week 10 of the Business English 2 course. I hope you're all well and staying safe, and I hope you're all ready to do some more business English studying this week in week 10. Before we start, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen from now till the end of the semester. The decision's been taken, sadly, to remain online for the rest of the semester, so we won't have an opportunity to meet offline and face to face. It's a little bit disappointing. I know, because I was looking forward to meeting you guys in person, because it seems like 10 weeks is quite a long time not to meet up, but the university's made that decision to stay online for a number of reasons. So I kind of wanted to talk you through some of the reasoning behind the decision making. Obviously, first and foremost is the health and safety aspect. We want everyone on campus to be as safe as possible, and Corona's still there. Korea's obviously done very well limiting it, but it's still there in the communities. So if we can avoid unnecessary big group gatherings, I guess that's a good thing. Obviously, the nature of the course, it's a very communicative course. Usually when we meet up, we're talking in small groups in quite tight proximity. Social distancing isn't going to allow that. You got to sit like 2 meters apart, so not really very conducive to having a conversation in small groups. Lots of small groups, so that's another reason. One of the other reasons was the size of the class and the size of the classroom. Obviously there's about 40 between 47 and 49 students in the class, 50 seater capacity. That means we couldn't all meet together because you can only have half that number in a 50 classroom, so that would only be 25 at a time. So that's another reason. Lots of people are not wanting to travel on public transport, and to avoid those unnecessary journeys, we thought that's a reason why. And last one, another reason, there's many more, but another reason is just it's kind of short notice for those people that are not living in the Seoul Incheon area, so very difficult for them to find accommodation at this time. So logistically, it was very, very difficult to get the class offline. So that's why we've chosen online. Well, it's a little bit disappointing for me, and maybe some of you guys. Maybe some of you are quite happy though, because you don't have to travel long distances, and you can work at your own pace. So there's benefits as well to the online class. So it is going to remain online. I'm very sorry for that, for those of you who are disappointed in that, and good news for those of you who are happy for the online class, I guess. Very, very little change is going to happen to the actual syllabus. One change that is going to happen is the group role play for week 13, the assess group role play for week 13, that is actually going to change into an individual business presentation. That's going to be the only change to the syllabus. Everything else will remain the same. I'm going to talk more about that individual presentation later in this video as well, so watch it carefully and listen to that. That's in week 13. It's in week 13, so we're going to talk about that, and hopefully you'll be able to get prepared for that. I've attached some extra reading, some some related materials to iClass this week in regards to the individual presentation that will happen, so you can read through those in your own time as well and really prepare yourself for that presentation in week 13. Okay, so just a reminder as well, there's plenty more learning materials to go with this this video. There's the PPT to work through. There's the pre-reading for the next topic. There's the extra reading for this topic, and there's a forum post that's a little bit different from the last forum posts you've been doing. The last few forum posts you've been doing. So again, watch this video carefully, and it'll all be explained to you as we go along. Okay, let's make a start then. So this week, week 10, we're not going to look at the book. We're not going to be using the book. It's a skills focused unit this week, and we're going to be really focusing in on the interview technique. I think it's a good topic for many of you guys, because a lot of you will be graduating soon, and you're going to be looking for jobs. You're going to be doing interviews. Actually, I do know some of the old students from this course that have now gone on to work. They've sent me messages, cacao messages and emails saying that this unit really helped them when they went into various companies, because a lot of the they used a lot of the interview techniques that we're going to look at, and they actually said some of the interview questions came up that they looked at in this unit. So it is a very practical unit, and for many of you, well, some of you, it's going to be really, really useful, especially, and also it's going to be useful to some of you that are going to do internships in different countries, because when you go for your visa application, a lot of these questions might be asked as well. So it's a really, really useful and practical unit, I think, this week. So let's get started. So today we're going to talk about how to improve your interview technique. We're going to look at preparing for interviews, and we're going to look at interview questions and answers. So this job search process, that's what we're going to look at first. So the interview is the most important part of the job search process, usually, yeah. And these interviews come in different types. There's different types of interview. So what I want you to do is sit down, have a think, make some notes. What different types of interviews can you think of? And make a list, jot them down, jot your ideas down in your journals or wherever you make your notes, and think what different types of interviews you can think of. Yeah, there's a few, and if you're really struggling to think of interview types, go onto Google, have a search, see what ideas you can come up from there. There's so many different kinds of interviews. I don't want to give the answers away and tell you. I want you to research it a little bit. Obviously, let's think of one that you might not you might not have experienced. A dinner interview, yeah, like a social interview where they kind of invite you along. They put you in a social setting, and they kind of informally interview you, maybe over dinner, maybe over a game of golf. There you go. That might be maybe one form of interview that's not very common, but it is a kind of interview technique that some people might use in an informal situation. So there you go. Go ahead, research different types of interviews, and obviously you can check on the PPT, you can check the answers on there. Just a few examples. I'm sure there's plenty more for you to find on Google if you research them. Once you've finished that, so we've got the different types of interviews here, and some definitions next to them. What you need to do is just match those interview types with their definition. So there you go. There's the one I just mentioned, a meal interview. Well, I called it more of an informal social interview. So meal interview, used to see how you interact or function in social settings. There you go. So there's one example. Work your way through those. Okay, then have a think. What are companies looking for? So that's why they have interviews. That's what they're looking for. What kind of things do you think interviewers are looking for in the interviewees when they interview them? So again, spend some time, sit down, think of some ideas that you think companies are looking for. Because if they're looking for them, you can give them. So really spend some time. Again, if you're short of ideas, go on Google, have a look on Google, go on the internet. Maybe you don't use Google, maybe use a different search engine, and have a look at what you think companies are looking for when they interview you. And how do companies assess your skills, and how are they assessing your qualifications? Companies have different ways of doing this within interviews. Again, spend some time, see if you can think of the different ways companies assess your skills and qualifications. Okay, so, sorry, I just missed one. Obviously, before you go for an interview, it's a good idea to do a bit of research on the company. And the question is, next question, what kind of things should you research? What do you need to know about the interview before, about the company before you have the interview? What kind of things are you going to research? And what ideas can you think of? Oh, wow. There you go. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a nightmare with my computer today. Maybe some things you might want to research would be the competitors within the industry. Who are the main competitors of the company that you're hoping to work for? Maybe some new projects or projects that the company's working on, future markets that they're hoping to enter. Maybe that could be a thing you'd like to research. How about the culture, the values of the company that you're going into? Obviously, I'm guessing somewhere like Samsung would have a very, very different culture and values to maybe Kakao or Google or one of these creative tech industries. So there you go. Those are some things you might want to research, but there's plenty more. For me, I would probably research holidays. I'd be quite selfish. I'd look to what benefits me really. I kind of look at holidays and pay and working conditions, and I decide whether I want to work for that company before I even applied for the company. So I'd be looking at things like that from a selfish personal point of view, and that's what I'll be researching. But other things, for me, I researched when I came to Inha, or what departments were in Inha, where Inha was specializing, what Inha was famous for, those kind of things. Those are the things that I researched. I researched about the business school and the logistics department, so I knew what the kind of things that were going to be asking me when I kind of went into the interview. So there you go. You got some great ideas there. So see what other things you can think of people should research before an interview, and make some notes. List them down. Next one, kind of interview preparation. What should you do before the interview. How should you prepare for the interview? So one example might be we read job descriptions and newspaper ads, so you really know what they're looking for from you before you go to the interview. What skills do they want? What tasks will you do? So when you go in there, you're not being surprised, and you can relate your skills to what they want. That could be one. Another thing, interview preparation. I probably need to go out and buy some new shirts. My shirts are looking a bit old, and my ties are looking a bit old these days, and a bit unfitting. So maybe that a very simple thing. Going out and preparing some smart interview clothes could be another way. Although to prepare for the interview. So have a list, work through them, and see what different ideas you can get. Again, there's more ideas when you go on to the PPT. You can look at them. There's a lot more of my ideas wrote down on the PPTs. So have a look at my ideas, find your own ideas, and draw up a good comprehensive list. Okay, so interview day, things you need to do. Okay, so at the interview, can you think of any tips? Can you think of anything that you need to do at the interview? For me, I've had so many interviews where I've sent my resume in, my CV in, and I've got to the interview, and I've referenced my resume and as you can see from my CV, but they haven't got it, and I don't think they've even read the person interviewing me hasn't even looked at my resume. So I think really good idea might be to take in a hard copy of your resume and to give it to the person interviewing you in person, so they can see your skills, they can see your qualifications, they can see your achievements, because often they don't get a copy of it, in my experience. So that would be one tip for me. Turn off your cell phone. There's nothing worse than seeing people on their cell phone waiting to go into an interview. If your cell phone rings in the interview, it really gives a bad first impression of you. So for me, I would just turn it off, so you're not even tempted to check your cell phone. Enthusiastic, eager, smile. Again, it's non-verbal communication skills, body language. Show that you want the job. Show that being smiling. Show that you'd be a good person to have in the office. You don't want someone that looks miserable and is moody. You want to work with people that are enthusiastic, that they're happy to be there. So yeah, those non-verbal skills, I think those are things you need to really think about at the interview. But there's so many different things. Again, some of my ideas are on the PPTs, but I'd like you to think of your own and write them down. Make a list of things that you think will prove beneficial at the interview. Again, when you've made a nice comprehensive list, move on to the next thing. You've got interview strategies. Okay, so what kind of strategies can you use in the interview? So it's a formal conversation, so you want to kind of avoid words like I'm terrible for this, so I've really got to change the way I speak clearer, speak more formal in the interview. That would be one interview strategy. Avoid slang language and non-professional language. Again, this is something that this course is really trying to develop. Your kind of sense of a more formal use of English, a more business-like use of English. So avoid like the slang language. Somebody, I forget who did it. Somebody actually wrote I wanna see you, kind of text abbreviation slang, which is wow. They wrote that in their assignment to me a few semesters ago, and again, it's really against what we're trying to achieve on this course. It's avoiding that slang, using professional language, using a more formal language. So I think that's a good interview strategy to work on, developing a more formal way of speaking. So there you go. There's a few interview strategies. There's more. Again, look at some of my ideas on the PPT. See if you can create your own strategies. If you're struggling, again, go on the internet, have a look, see what interview strategies you can find there. Okay, when you've got a nice list, move on. Okay, so I mentioned briefly about it, body language, non-verbal communications. We talked about smiling and enthusiasm. Again, positive signs, leaning forward, smiling, nodding, eye contact. Yeah, it's all skills that show you kind of interested. You want the job, and you're communicating through your body. I think, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Probably the most important part of the job interview, and probably the most difficult part of the job interview is going to be the questions. And it's so difficult because you don't know what's going to come, and you can prepare as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you really don't know what's coming. So it's good to have a good all-round knowledge of what kind of questions can usually often come at you, and possible ways to answer them. So let's have a look. Okay, so you got questions about characteristics, you got questions about your experience, you got questions about education, you got questions about aptitude and manner, self-expression, job knowledge, motivation, judgment, leadership. These are all questions that can come at you, and they will come at you in interviews. And how you answer them is key. Probably the most common question would be to introduce yourself to the panel or the interviewer. Usually about 60 seconds would be a good time to spend introducing yourself. You don't want to speak for too long, but you don't want to keep it too short. So kind of things, you got to think, what kind of things would you talk about? Maybe some of the strengths related to the job, related to the position. Educational background would be a good one for you guys, straight just after finishing INHA, and maybe how that educational background will help you be good at the job. Speak clearly, identify some goals that you have. Where are you from? Maybe what's your name? If they're interviewing a lot of people, your name, expertise, something you've accomplished. All great things to put in a little introduction about yourself. So a really good question to actually plan for, because I would guess in most interviews it will come up. Tell me something about yourself. What do you like? Those kind of questions. Introduce yourself, please. Those usually one of the first questions. So good one to think about. So probably questions about you. Here's some typical questions that you might get about you as a person. How would you describe the pace at which you work? What motivates you? How do you handle stress and pressure? week 7 we talked about stress. So we've covered a lot of these kind of things, especially in those reflective questions where I've asked you to make notes in your journal. We've covered a lot of this stuff. What are the most difficult decisions to make? Again, we talked about that in the stress unit, and what kind of business situations would give you stress. There's so much information on this course that you can use to answer these questions. Give some examples of teamwork. There you go, all questions about you. Give me an example of something you did that helped build enthusiasm in others. So it doesn't have to be business related. You could think about maybe if you were a captain of the INHA soccer team or volleyball team. Maybe you led the MT training for the freshers. I don't know, it could be anything personal. It could be, if you can relate it to the job, fantastic as well. So all questions about you. Again, look at them in the PPT, really think about them and think how you would answer them. You don't need to write the answers out, but maybe you could write some notes on each of the questions and think how you would answer them. What kind of examples would you give in each situation? Okay, so you got questions about you that we just looked at. We got questions about work, related to work. So how do you organize yourself to ensure you meet the day's challenges? Tell us about the best team you've been associated with it. A lot of questions about teamwork come up. What sort of work and environment motivates you to do your best? Again, if you really want the job, this is where your preparation, your research comes into it. You talk about their work environment. You talk about the sort of work that they do. And there you go. That's where your research is really, really coming in key to answer these questions. You've got questions about work history, about your experience. What were your responsibilities? What were your starting and final salaries? Again, if you haven't got any work experience, you can talk about your internship. That's why you're doing it, to get this experience. So why you were, you can relate it to these interview questions, and you can show them that you can do the job. What was it like working for your supervisor? Again, try not to be negative. If you didn't like your supervisor, think of positives. What did they do well? Again, just looking at the syllabus. Companies, careers, those units. There's so much information in there that's going to help you answer these questions. Why were you fired? Oh wow, that's a difficult question. If you were fired, why were you fired? Again, you got to get some positives out of that question, but it's a really, really tough question. Okay, gonna have questions about the new job. This is where your research comes in. This is when they're asking you, how do you really want this job? Have they read the job advertisement? Have they researched the company? So there you go. What experience do you have? Why should we hire you? They're thinking about personal qualities there. They're looking for your skills. They're looking for your education. They're looking for your job experience. It's all about looking at the question and matching it to the job. What do you know about this company? There you go. It's directly asking you about your research. If you say nothing, you're not going to get the job because they don't think you want to work for that company. So research is key here. Relating your skills to the job is the key for these questions. Okay, tough questions. in every interview, you're going to get some tough questions. You're going to get unexpected questions. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made? Okay, so they're asking you for a negative here. So you've got to take that negative. You got to be honest, really. Some mistakes can show how you push yourself to your limit. Concentrate your answer to describe what you learned from the mistake. I love that one. What did you learn from the mistake? How can you do it better next time? What positives did you take out of failure? Okay, it's all about looking at a negative and turning it into a positive. Sorry, just returning to the tough ones. An example just jumped into my mind of that. This is a real example of a job interview question when I came for this job at Inha, maybe 6 years ago, over 6 years ago now. I was being interviewed by a panel interview. So I walked into the room. There were 16 of most of them were not even professors. There were the accountants. There were people controlling Inha. The president of Inha was there in the big office with 16 people there, just one chair, me in front of them all. Very, very intimidating situation, this panel interview. And they're all there, and they're all Korean, they all speak Korean perfectly, they're all very old as well, and yeah, I was very nervous in this situation. And the first question they asked me was a really tough one. They asked me to introduce myself, but in Korean. So I'd prepared a lot for the interview, but I wasn't expecting that. I prepared to introduce myself to them about my times in Korea, my experiences in Korea, my teaching experience, my working in Korean companies. So much preparation, but I hadn't expected that question because my job really doesn't entail speaking a great deal of Korean. But in the interview, I was thinking very quickly, I don't think they're not testing my language ability here. They're testing my cultural awareness. They're testing my have I integrated into Korean society. They're testing my confidence. They knew it was a difficult question and they knew it was an intimidating situation. They're testing my confidence. They're testing my ability to work under pressure. They're testing my ability to respond to a big group and relate to them. It was a fantastic interview question. It was very tough, and there was no way I could have said no. I had to introduce myself in Korean. My Korean's not the best, but I focused on things that I know and I can talk about, and I'm happy and I'm interested in talking about. So I didn't actually talk related to I did relate a little bit to the job, but I talked about fishing. I talked about my love of Korean food. I talked about my Korean family, and I talked about things that I was comfortable with, and I got the job, even though it was an incredibly tough question. So there you go. There's a great example, a very personal example of a tough question, and it's about thinking about what are they asking with that question and what are they looking for. They all spoke English fluently. They probably spoke English better than me, most of those in that room. So it was really me thinking what skills they were looking for from that question. So I think that's a good example, and how you can relate the questions to the skills that they need and in the job and the role. Okay, so there you go. That's a very personal example of an interview question I really had for this job. and how I dealt with it. Okay, moving on. So how about your turn then? Oh, getting bigger. Let's move me up there. Questions you can ask them. So an interview can be a two-way process. Often at the end, the final question they'll ask you is, do you have any questions for me? If you say no, then it's not a great response. Prepare something that maybe you are interested in. Where could I expect to be in 5 years? A very clever question. It's showing commitment. It's showing you want to progress in the job. It shows you want to stay with the company. You're not going to leave them after you've been trained. So there you go. What sort of training will the person in this position receive? Excellent. It shows that, again, you want to develop your skills. You want to get better at the job. You're telling them things through the questions that you're asking them. And you're finding out information. There you go. What do you like best about working for this organization? You can find out information from the interviewer. Why do they like working there? And it's quite a surprising question, but you can find out what the benefits of working for that company, and you can decide if they offer you a job, whether you actually want to work there. So there you go. Think about some questions that maybe you can ask the interviewer when you go into these interviews. Okay, so that's it. That's really the tips that I would suggest you think about, you look at, and you really spend some time thinking about this week. Okay. Again, if you want to see all the my ideas, my suggestions, have a look in the PPT. But there's a lot more in the extra reading. So if you look at the extra reading and read it through, there's so much great stuff in there. So read through the extra reading when you've got some time. Okay. So moving on to the kind of the task of this week. There's no case study as such, but there is a task, and the task is interview role plays. And if you look attached to iClass, what you'll find is many examples of some job advertisements. There you go. You've got graphic designer, chef, tour guide, hairdresser. There's a lot more as well. Those are just a few I've put on the screen. So download them, look through them, and see if you can identify the skills they're looking for, maybe the working conditions, the pay in them, what kind of characteristics they're looking for, what kind of person they're looking for, what kind of tasks you're going to be asked to do in the job. There you go. So read through those job advertisements. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to choose one of these interview questions. They're taken from the interview section about work that we looked at when we said the interview, when we looked at questions about you, about work, and about jobs. So this is where they're taken from. And we've got a selection of questions there. What interests you about the job? Why do you want this job? What experiences do you have for this job? Why are you the best person for this job? Why should we hire you? What can you contribute to this company? There you go. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to choose one of those questions, a question that interests you there, and you think you could answer it quite well. Then I'd like you to choose one of the job advertisements that we looked at in the previous PPT, and that are linked to link to iClass. There's a big selection. Choose whichever one that interests you. And what I want you to do is, based on one of those advertisements, prepare a 3-minute answer as a prospective job candidate for your chosen question. So, with the question you chose, I want you to relate it to the job advertisement, and I want you to create a 3-minute answer. Again, you got all the job interviews and the advice and the tips we've discussed in the class. So again, body language, gestures, smiling, linking the positions, tasks to your experience, linking the qualities they're looking for to your characteristics. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to be able to really link yourself, your skills, your education, your qualities to that job. Okay? If you want, it doesn't have to be real. You can just make up the information if you want. So I think one of the jobs is a bus driver. Maybe you can just, if you've got no experience of driving a bus, maybe you could just create a background. So, I've been driving for Incheon City for the past 3 years. Before that, I was an intercity bus driver for Samhwa Express buses. I used to drive between cities. Safety record, that kind of thing. You can create any information that you want if you don't have the experience. But what I'm looking for is that skills of relating. Maybe you do have the experience. Maybe you were a bus driver or a truck driver when you did your military service, if you're one of the guys here. So I know a lot of the guys are drivers in the military. So maybe you really do have that real life experience. So if you do have the real life experience, choose a job that you can really link your skills to and your experiences to. But I'll leave that up to you. What I want you to do is to prepare a 3-minute answer for one of those questions on the slide before, linked to one of the job advertisements. Okay, and that's your task for today, this week. Again, there you go. There's some more of them. There's the school bus driver that I was talking about. It also talks about Christian values. So maybe if you're a Buddhist, then you might want to talk about your belief of respecting all religion there. Maybe if you go to church every week, then that would be a great one to put in there. Maybe if you don't believe in any religion, you could talk about your respect for religion and how everybody has free choice. There you go. There's so many things you can discuss, and to fill those 3 minutes. But what you put in there, I'm going to leave it up to you. So, this week's forum task is basically what I asked you to do. I want you to create a 3-minute video of answering your chosen interview question. Customize your answer to match one of the job advertisements provided. Use job interview advice and tips we discussed today to make it more to make the answer better and to try and get that job. Again, if you want to use some visual aids in your presentation, you can. Maybe you want to put a little background up with the interview questions and some bullet points with some of your qualities. So if you want to add visual aids, feel free, you can. And once you've created that video, what I'd like you to do is go to the forum, put it up, link it up, get onto the forum post so all the class members can see it, watch it, and see what ideas you've had in your response to the question. and the job advertisement. And again, like any other 4 weeks forum post, watch them, learn from them, make a comment. If somebody does something well, you like an answer that they give, or that you like some points that they offer, write it up, tell them. And so lots of positive feedback, please. So there you go. Just to reiterate, 3-minute video answering your interview question related to the job that you chose. That's what I'd like you to do. What kind of software, video you use, that's really up to you. I can tell you that I use, for this video here, with my visual aids and my PowerPoint, I use a PowerSoft online screen recorder. So if you want to use visual aids, that could be a good one that you use. It's free, it's on the internet, and you can get it by just going to their website. But maybe you've got a better one. Maybe you could use whatever you want. I'm not going to stipulate that. Just get an interview. Make a 3-minute video, attach it to the forum post, and then everyone will be able to see it. Deadline is Sunday, but please get it done a little bit earlier, because I really think this is something we can all learn from, and it's great to watch everybody's and see how other people answer the questions, and you get some really good advice, tips and ideas from everybody else. Okay, hope you're all clear with that. I'll put a little video how to attach videos onto the forum, because you might not know, but it is very, very simple. You just click on the media button, upload your video and post it. It's really, really, really simple. So go to the forum post and have a look. Okay, that's it. That's this week's forum post. Pretty easy. Just as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the course is going to now be an online course till the end of the semester. We're not going to go offline. It's not really going to affect you too much. Maybe a little bit disappointing that we won't get to meet face to face, but the actual syllabus is not going to change much. This is one change that I just wanted to touch on and kind of mention it to you and get you to start thinking about week 13 really. Week 13 in the original syllabus was a group business role play project where you were all going to do a business meeting role play together. Obviously that can't happen because of Corona and the situation, so we're gonna change that. So it's no longer a group business role play. It is gonna be an individual. Just move me out of the way. It's gonna be an individual project. It's gonna be an individual business presentation. Those of you who did Business 1 before, you'll have a good idea of what I'm going to be looking for in this, but I'll talk you through it now. So in this individual project, you need to prepare and present on any business related topic. You can choose whatever you want to present on. So if you would like to propose a new business, you can. So you could, maybe if you wanted to, let's have a thing. If you wanted to open a new kimbap shop franchise in England, north of England, there you go. You could, and you could propose how are you going to do it, where are you going to source your materials from, labor. You could talk about marketing, that sales and advertising. You could talk about customer demand. You could talk about projected sales. You could talk about the product that you're gonna supply. There's so many different areas you can talk about. Maybe you want to profile a video, profile a business. So you could talk about a real life business. Tell people about it. If there's a new business opening that in Korea, maybe a new franchise that never heard of, maybe you could use some real life examples there and profile a video and tell us about the history of that. Tell us about the market, the customers that use it, the future trends of this business. That's one thing you could do. You could profile a company. You could make a marketing strategy for a product. So, just let me have a look. So, can't find what I'm looking for now. I don't have it to hand. Yeah, so a marketing strategy for a brand maybe, or create an advertising campaign. You could use maybe one of the case studies that we've done and adapt it. Maybe one of those kind of themes. You can do whatever you want. Okay, a career plan. Talk about you. What do you want to do in your career, the kind of company you want to work for? Why do you want to work for that company? What business sector are they in? What department of that business do you want to work in? Why do you want to work in that? There you go. All these business things that we've talked about, language, the business terminology. I'm really looking for that to get into this project. So whatever you want to present on is fine, as long as it's business related. Okay, if you think, oh, I don't know if my idea is very good, send me a cacao, send me an email, and I'll drop you a line. My advice when you're choosing a topic is don't keep it too narrow. Keep it the topic quite wide, so you can discuss many areas of business. You can get lots of different business language in there, business terminology, and keep it interesting. Okay, not everybody should talk about opening a coffee shop in the back gate of Inha. Could be interesting, but when you've heard it about 20 times, it's not so interesting for the audience, that being me. Okay, so originality is a really good in this one. Keep it interesting, keep it business related. Okay, so kind of things I'm looking for English language skills. Okay, I'm looking for meaning, realistic content, thoughtfulness, originality. Okay, those are kind of things I'm looking for. There's a marking rubric actually that I'll show you in just a little bit. Presentation should be approximately 4 minutes long. Okay, 4 minutes, not 6, not 7, not 8, about 4 minutes long. Business English 1 and 2. If you're doing both, you need to prepare different presentations. You cannot use the same presentation for both courses. Okay, you've got to come up with different ideas. Okay, you must submit a recorded presentation combined with visual aids. So similar to this, I've got to be able to see you, and I want to see your visual aids too. If you're not sure like what kind of quality of visual aids I'm going for, I've attached some visual aids in the form of a PPT that some students created previously. I think they're really good. Okay, that's the kind of quality I'm looking for, that or higher. Does it have to be PPT, PowerPoint? No, it doesn't. You could use Prezi. I love Prezi. I really like Prezi as a visual aid creator. I think it flows nice. It looks professional. It's great. So maybe that Prezi is something you might want to look into. or you can use whatever software you like, okay? But I need to see you presenting, and I need to see your visual aids combined. Okay, how are you going to submit it? You're going to submit it week 13, which is 3 weeks away, so please don't stress about it yet. Just start thinking about your ideas. This is just so that you know it's coming, okay? Week 13 will be the deadline. The deadline is November 26, 12 o'clock, okay? That being 12 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon, not at night, okay? So that's when the deadline is. So quite a long time in the future, but you need to start thinking about it, because it is 20% of the final grade, okay? So really start thinking about your individual project, maybe over the weekend if you have some free time, maybe some ideas that you might want to present on. Okay. I mentioned about the rubric, kind of the details that I'll be grading the presentation on. You can find that here. The information that I'm looking for is all here. 10 minutes is not 10 minutes, it's 4 minutes, remember. 10 minutes would be incredibly long for just one of you to do. So just a 4-minute presentation. But what I'm looking for, it's all in there, and these are what I'm going to grade it on. I'm going to look at professional look, I'm going to look at the visual aids, I'm going to look at the delivery. So if you don't put visual aids in, I can't score you on that category, so you need some visual aids. I'm going to look at your delivery, how you're speaking it, again, body language, gestures, that kind of thing, content, structure, how it's structured, your aims, those kind of things, expressions, business language. Look through the book. There's a lot of business language in there. Get it in. I know this book off by heart, so get that business language in. Is it interesting? Have you shown originality, and your timing? Okay, it's a 4-minute one. If you've done 5 minutes 30 seconds, I know you've not prepared it very well. If you do 3 minutes, I know it's not really well prepared. 4 minutes 10 seconds, 3 minutes 50 seconds, okay, you're about there, but I'm looking for it to be approximately 4 minutes. Okay, that's it really for this week. That's just a little reminder of week 13, because it will come soon, but what you need to concentrate on today is thinking of interview techniques. Look through the PPT, look at my suggestions, create your own suggestions, and develop an answer and post it up on the forum for this week for everyone to view. Okay, that's it, guys. Nothing more to do this week. Enjoy your week. Good luck with the videos. I look forward to viewing them this week. Get them in as early as you can, so we can watch as many as we can, and we can make some comments on it before the deadline on Sunday. Okay, take care, guys, and once again, I just want to say sorry that we're not going to be meeting this semester, but let's continue with the good work that we've been doing so far, and get to the end of the semester. Okay, take care, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.